Live from KSAT 12. Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
New fallout this morning after President Trump left the hospital to drive by and visit with his supporters. I'm Alex Pache in Washington. I'll have details coming up.
Outside with live cam. We've had some cool mornings around here lately. Today we're starting out a bit on the mild side, but you know what? It's not half bad coming off the weekend. Good morning to you. It is Monday. It is the 5th of October. We hope you had an awesome weekend.
I heard you had an awesome weekend. You went fishing?
Did some fishing down off the coast. Fantastic. I've got a freezer full of redfish, which is delicious.
Delicious. Yeah, he has got some great pictures. Big catches. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Good to have you here on a Monday morning.
Oh, good to be here. And Mike, it was a beautiful weekend.
Couldn't have asked for a nicer weekend. It was a little bit warm yesterday. We did make it up to 90, a little bit above normal, but even in the mornings, I mean, Saturday morning, sitting outside drinking coffee, I had to put a sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
And then yesterday it was just so nice and just beautiful. And it's pretty much going to be a continuation of that as we're starting off this morning and throughout the rest of the day. Of course, the big news over the weekend, we did have two systems. We have Gamma, of course, in the Gulf of Mexico, and this is then Tropical Depression number 26. And you got two basically within arm's reach. Neither one of them is really going to have much direct impact on us, if at all. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. 67 here in town. Mid to upper 50s in parts of the hill country. I think we dropped down a couple of more degrees in the next few hours. Ragweed is on the moderate side. I know some folks around here are kind of suffering from some of the allergens this morning. Throughout the rest of the morning, I think we dropped down into the about mid 60s here in town, which is right about where the normal low temperature should be. And then a high today, right about where the normal high should be, 85 degrees. Although the trend this week is going to be beautiful, but also warming up. Details coming up in just a couple of minutes. Time saver traffic right now, and a very good Monday morning to Officer Marcus Trujillo.
Well, thank you, Mike, and good morning to you. Good morning, everyone at home right now, and also those about to head home. Let's not forget those folks. They've been working all night. Currently, out there on the roadways, things look pretty good. Let's take a look at TransGuide. Right now, you can see 35 at Church Parkway, north and southbound lanes so far. No issues there. 37 in Hackberry looks pretty good. Over at 37 Indian Hills, no problems. And 35 at AT&T Center Parkway, a little fuzzy there, but could just be some dirt on the lens. Other than that, things look pretty good out there. Mark and Sarah?
Thank you very much, Marcus. Well, other top stories this morning. President Trump's impromptu drive-by visit with supporters is drawing criticism.
He was seen driving by outside the hospital where he is being treated for COVID-19. ABC's Alex Pache has more from Washington.
Overnight, growing outrage over this. President Trump breaking his quarantine at Walter Reed Sunday to do a drive-by for his supporters.
Mr. President!
He's there in the back seat waving and wearing a mask. The others in the SUV exposed. As health experts say, the president is likely still contagious. The White House insisting in a statement that appropriate precautions were taken, including PPE, and that the movement was cleared by the medical team as safe to do. But Dr. James Phillips, a Walter Reed attending physician, blasted the stunt, tweeting, "Every single person in the vehicle during that completely unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days. They might get sick, they may die. For political theater, this is insanity." The CDC says any movement of a hospitalized COVID patient outside their room should only be done for medically essential purposes. The president, after spending the weekend in the hospital, now saying this about the virus.
And I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it.
This latest incident follows a series of mixed messages and false statements about his health. On Saturday, White House Dr. Sean Conley repeatedly dodged questions about whether the president needed oxygen.
Yesterday and today, he was not on oxygen.
So he has not been on it during his COVID treatment?
He's not on oxygen right now.
Now, Conley says he did administer oxygen to the president twice, including on Friday at the White House after his blood oxygen dropped. Sources telling ABC the president had difficulty breathing. And there's also questions about how and when the president caught COVID. Last week's Rose Garden announcement of his Supreme Court pick, Amy Coney Barrett, a possible super spreader event. So far, 9 people in attendance have tested positive, and 5 out of 9 people on his debate prep team have tested positive too. Meanwhile, Joe Biden tested negative for the virus on Sunday. His campaign now promising to release the results of every test that he takes. And his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is gearing up to face Vice President Mike Pence in a debate on Wednesday. Sources telling ABC News that they'll sit 12 feet apart after the Biden campaign requested more space. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
And here's an update on how the coronavirus is affecting us here in Bexar County. We are seeing another jump in COVID cases thanks to backlogged additions. Metro Health officials are reporting 113 new cases, 381 backlog cases. No new deaths reported, but 24 backlog deaths are now being listed between the dates of July 12th and September 17th. As for hospitalizations, this morning there are more than 200 being treated, with 80 in ICU and 30 on ventilators.
Well, one of the latest local COVID-19 patients is Cornerstone Church Pastor John Hagee. The church leaders announced Pastor Hagee's diagnosis during their online service yesterday. Matt Hagee, the pastor's son, told the congregation his father found out about his positive test on Friday. He said it was discovered early and his father is now on the mend. During the service, Matt Hagee asked the church to pray for his father and others who are currently battling the illness.
Right now it's 4:36, 67 degrees.
Still ahead on GMSA, Dancing with the Stars dancer Cheryl Burke is opening up about her alcoholism and what motivated her to finally stay sober.
And next, the U.S. Supreme Court starts back up again today. We'll begin working on several cases without the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
If you are outside at all this weekend, you know we've been blessed with some very pleasant fall feeling like weather. 67 degrees right now in live camp. But will things heat up this week, or will those fall temps stay the same? Mike will let us know when we come back.
Welcome back. 4:39 in your morning headlines. Officials in California say the massive wildfires in that state have now scorched a record 4 million acres so far this year, and the fire season is far from over. The astonishing figure is more than double the 2018 record of 1.6 million burned acres. So far, more than 8,200 wildfires have killed 31 people, scorched 6,000 square miles, and destroyed more than 8,000 buildings. Despite the recent numbers, there are signs of optimism. Powerful winds that had been expected to drive flames in recent days haven't showed up, and warnings of extreme fire danger for hot, dry, gusty weather have expired. Clearer skies in some areas have also allowed large air tankers to drop fire retardant after they were sidelined by smoky conditions several days earlier.
Authorities in Mexico say at least 6 people have died and thousands were evacuated in southeastern Mexico thanks to Tropical Storm Gamma. The storm lashed the Yucatan Peninsula's resort-studded coast with near hurricane-force winds and drenched several Mexican states. Mexico's Civil Defense Agency says 4 of the deaths included 2 children who were where a landslide on a mountainous slope buried those children's home. Gamma, along with some cold fronts, combined over the weekend to cause extreme rains in parts of the Yucatan Peninsula, affecting more than 500,000 people.
With a shift to conservatives pending, the Supreme Court opening a new term today. That strengthened majority could roll back abortion rights, expand gun rights, and shrink the power of the government. The 8 justices getting back to work less than a month before the presidential election. After their colleague Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died last month, the Senate could confirm President Donald Trump's nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. The justices also working in the midst of a pandemic that has forced the court to meet by telephone.
It's 4:41 and 67 degrees.
Still ahead on GMSA, how a local man is bringing a unique kind of high-flying entertainment to neighbors.
And next, a popular dancer on Dancing with the Stars is offering her testimony on her struggle with alcoholism and what it takes to stay sober. Dancer Cheryl Burke, a mainstay on Dancing with the Stars, is talking about her alcoholism and why she got sober. ABC's Adrienne Bankert has that in this morning's GMA First Look.
In this morning's GMA First Look, she's been a fan favorite on Dancing with the Stars for 23 seasons. But this morning, Cheryl Burke is opening up about her once secret struggle.
Would you say that you were alcoholic? Were you an addict?
I am an addict. I have those tendencies. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I was a party girl. And then I just took it to the next level and it became an issue. And it became an everyday thing for me.
Coming up on Good Morning America, we'll hear how the dance pro made the decision to live a sober life, what she's learned from her own family's battle with addiction, and how her partner this season, Backstreet Boy AJ McLean,
I kissed her and she kissed me,
is inspiring her with every dance. With your GMA First Look, I'm Adrienne Bankert, ABC News.
445, many hobbies require a specialized set of skills, and a Converse man has acquired plenty of those during his many years of flying airplanes. And we're not talking big commercial aircraft, but small model planes that he has collected over time.
And in doing so, he's brought a unique entertainment to his neighbors. Japhanie Gray shows us how he is encouraging others to join in on the fun.
You never forget how to fly. You know, it's kind of like getting on a bike.
You almost remind me of Stevie Wonder.
I am Stevie Wonder.
If you're ever driving along Beach Trail in Converse, you may see this man, 56-year-old Bernard Williams, wearing his goggles and enjoying life right from his outside lawn chair, doing the very thing he loves, flying. Which is why when you look up, you may also see this little gadget soaring through the air.
I fall asleep flying, you know, but it's fun, you know, it's relaxing and it's enjoyable.
He's a warehouse worker for Amazon by day, but when he's off, he makes time for his hobby of flying different aircrafts.
You get a brick and put some wings on it, throw a motor on it. I can fly that brick. I mean, I don't know how far it's going to fly, but I guarantee I can get it off the ground and I can fly that brick.
Bernard started it all in the 80s when he bought his first plane to show off to his wife.
Took it out, took it up, and went up about maybe 400 feet. Did a loop, came straight down. Lots of pieces. She says, oh, I see you can fly all right. You can fly right to the ground.
But he didn't give up on flying. Plane after plane, he perfected his craft to the point of helping others at different flying fields.
Can you do this? Can you check this? And, you know, check it out and tell them, hey, look, plane flies great.
From the motor to the wings, he also builds planes like these from scratch.
They're just wood, but you just got to know where to put everything.
And he donates them to beginners.
There's something else that they want to try, I give them different planes, you know.
With his garage wide open, filled with his large collection for all to see, Bernard welcomes any interested neighbor or plane enthusiast, including his neighbor John, who comes by to fly with him often.
End up spending 6 hours. We're just sitting around just talking. Before you know, it's like, oh, I got to get home.
He hopes his passion of flying planes inspires others to take on the hobby as well.
The factor that they're fearing is they don't want to crash, but you're going to crash.
And just like in life, Bernard says all you have to do is try and try again. That's Superfly for What's Up South Texas. Japhanie Gray, KSAT 12 News.
That is so cool.
What a cool story.
That big one in the driveway, that's a racing plane. That sucker's got to be fast. I would love to see that one.
It's like
airborne.
all the men in the room are just like, oh, this is so cool.
Well, you know, his wife's like, okay, you've got all your planes, and she's got a room full of purses.
I was like, I want to hear from the wife.
She's got purses and planes. I'm sure it's an equal amount.
Absolutely. And Marcus, I mean, you were just kind of glued to the TV there.
That it is pretty neat. Mark, do I smell another hobby in your future?
Well, that's one of those I've been afraid of. Because once you go in deep.
That's right.
Yep.
Or you go in high.
Or low.
No, stay high. Avoid the objects.
I'm telling you that I would go nose first.
Right now, let's take a look at the roadways. So far, nobody knows first out there on the roadways. 35 at AT&T Center Parkway still looking great with no problems there. 21 at Winding Way. No traffic here at all. That's how great it is on that shot there. So, Mike, how far would you go?
I did that years ago. I actually got into radio-controlled models, built the airplane and all that, and did pretty well. My knees were just, my first flight, they were rubber. I was so nervous, and I think I had forgot to charge the battery, lost the signal, and hit a tree. That was the only flight, but I got off the ground. So
well, like you said, you're gonna crash.
Yeah, you're gonna crash occasionally, but it's a lot of it. You know, they have actual jet engines now for some of those remote-controlled.
You and I have shared videos of like 1/3 models of Concorde jets and stuff now. I mean, it's unbelievable what guys spend money on out there on RC aircraft.
Google some of those, and they're immense, you know, 15, 20 feet in some of those things. So anyway, Okay, back to topic at hand. Squirrel, there we go. Beautiful, beautiful sunset there in LaSalle County. Yeah, it couldn't have been a nicer weekend. Great start to the first weekend, or great start to the month of October and the first full weekend. And right now, we've got nothing but clear skies out there, 1 or 2 clouds here and there. We did hit 90 yesterday, so we were about 5 degrees above normal. That was pretty much across the board. We've actually had a kind of a little bit of a front move through. No, fanfare with it, but it is going to hold temperatures down closer to normal readings throughout the rest of today, mid and some upper 80s around the area. Okay, out there in the Gulf of Mexico, it looks fairly impressive. Most of the cloud, what's interesting is when you see, here's all the higher cloud tops, but the actual center of this is still down there just off the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. 50 mile per hour winds, tropical storm Gamma. And watch what this thing does with the latest track from the Hurricane Center. It goes down to the southwest, and then it's going to make a big loop-de-loop, kind of come back up to the north and really not do much of anything, lose some energy right there, and just be a tropical low. So this is almost going to sort of fall apart. Now the other one is going to be Tropical Storm Beta Gamma Delta, right? Yes, thank you. Back to my fraternity days, almost forgot the Greek alphabet. So this is going to work its way in through the Caribbean and into the Gulf, and it does look like this will become a Category 1 storm and then also Category 2. And also, unfortunately for the folks around Louisiana and the Gulf Coast up there, it is going to be making a right-hand turn and looks like it should be affecting them sometime late in the week. Again, it's a Category 2 storm, and they've had a bunch of them so far. But the way these are both, as it looks right now, both of them are going to be staying well east of us and really not going to have any direct impact at all. Indirectly, I guess you could argue that it's going to help to heat us up because temperatures will continue to warm up throughout the rest of the week. 78 degrees today at noon, sunny skies, good looking day today, 85. Humidity is going to be okay, not as dry, not as cool and crisp, obviously, as last week, but still not too bad. But again, the forecast is, and the trend is going to be for temperatures to go up about 6-7 degrees above normal once we get into the weekend. It's going to be a kind of a warm weekend. Low temperatures should be pretty much held in check.
In check. Got it. Thank you, Mike. 452, 67 degrees.
A major chain of movie theaters is already considering shutting down again for the pandemic. Details just ahead.
Here are your lottery numbers this morning. Pick 3, 141, Fireball 5, Daily 4, 4720, Fireball 2.
Cash 5, 1, 7, 8, 14, 34. Texas Lotto numbers 6, 13, 18, 26, 48, 54. And Powerball 18, 31, 36, 43, 47, Powerball 20, Power Play 2.
A large group of cinemas may be shutting down again, and the latest James Bond film gets pushed back again.
For the latest on what's happening in Hollywood, here's ABC's Chris Watson.
It's gonna be a great comeback story.
Cineworld says not so fast. The owner of the Regal Cinemas chain is only considering temporary closures of its theaters in the U.S. and the U.K. That's according to a statement Sunday on its official Twitter. Word Friday was the decision to shutter cinemas was a done deal after Universal announced it was further delaying the debut of the next James Bond flick, No Time to Die, until April. It's all about the pandemic, of course, and when it'll be safe to start going to the movies again. Jim Carrey made his Saturday Night Live debut as Joe Biden opposite Alec Baldwin's Donald Trump over the weekend in a cold open that took on last week's disastrous presidential debate. Tenet, still playing in theaters, has now made $45 million domestically, $307 million worldwide. And Kate Winslet's 45 Monday. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. I'm Christopher Watson, ABC News.
3 till right now, 66 degrees.
Well, still ahead in our next half hour, the latest on the 2020 election as President Trump's re-election team tries to get his campaign back on track, but large in-person rallies with the president have been put on hold for now.
Plus, how a group of medical students and physicians at University Hospital in San Antonio is working to register voters as part of patient care.
Live from KSAT 12. Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
As President Donald Trump recovers in the hospital from COVID, former Vice President Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris are still holding events but have removed ads that target the president.
Plus, how a group of local medical students is working to register voters as part of patient care.
And outside with live cam, it's not especially cool morning. How about mid-60s? We'll see if we get another cool down in the next week or so as we kick off your work week. Good morning to you. It is Monday. It is October 5th.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Yesterday I was working in the yard. I had to dig a hole for a giant rose plant. Oh my God. And I thought, oh, I'll be fine. It's nice in fall weather, but it was in the upper 80s, Mike, and I was dripping sweat by the end of it.
Yeah, it got warm in the afternoons, both Saturday and yesterday. We did hit 90 yesterday, which is about 5 above normal. And low temperatures, at least starting off this weekend, were really, really pleasant. I mean, it was kind of chilly, actually, Saturday morning sitting outside. Right now, we are at 66 degrees. Notice that bottom number, the dew point temperature, is still at 56. So we're still below 60. But it's obviously a lot higher than what it was last week. Today, we're going to be getting up into the mid-80s, so we are going to be closer to what you would expect this time of year as far as a normal temperature, the 30-year average. The aquifer did go up 0.2 of a foot in the past 24 hours, and the allergens, a lot of ragweed is showing up. A lot of folks are suffering from that, even here at the station this morning. All right, as far as those dew points, the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and this really is the big determining factor on how low we can get in the mornings. You can't drop down below these numbers, and if we were to, if the sun didn't come up for a few more hours, we could actually drop down this low, but I think we're only going to make it down to about the mid-60s later on this morning. But still very, pleasant, but notice how it's kind of flirting there in Helotes with the 60. So it's creeping up ever so slightly. Clear, pleasant this morning, still very nice temperatures, maybe a light sweater or something like that, light sweatshirt, and then sunny mid-80s later on today. Now, the rest of the week, we are slowly going to be warming up. We're going to be back up to about 5 degrees above normal and then some as we head in toward the weekend. Big question, any rain in sight at all? Details coming up in just a couple of minutes. Time saver traffic right now. Here is Officer Marcus Trujillo. What's going on, sir?
Well, Mike, as we take a look at the roadways, still no accidents this morning, so we're off to a great start on this Monday morning. Take a look at TransGuide. 1604 Old Houseman, you can see traveling both directions, running smoothly, and then 37 at Jones Avenue here in the downtown vicinity. So far, north and southbound lanes, no problems, and smooth sailing. 281 at Sprucewood Lane. Sarah, Mark?
Thank you very much, Marcus. Late breaking news at this hour. Police responding to a shooting early this morning out in the Leon Valley area.
Our Katrina Weber is live near the intersection of Peachtree and Heber. That's on the northwest side of town with the latest. Good morning, Katrina. What do we know?
Good morning. According to the Leon Valley Police Chief, this is a case of an officer shooting a driver who used his car as a weapon. Police say that driver backed over and hit an officer here in Leon Valley. This is Peachtree Street that you see. You can see it's still an active investigation going on here. This has been going on since just before 3 o'clock this morning. Leon Valley Police say that their officers were trying to make a traffic stop on a suspected drunk driver. They say the driver would not cooperate with the officers, and at one point he put his car into reverse and hit one of the officers, running over and injuring his leg, breaking his leg actually. At that point, another officer then fired at the driver, hitting him. So both he and the officer who was injured with the injured leg were taken to a hospital. Police have been here ever since. You can see lots of evidence markers down in the street. It looks like maybe a piece of a car or something that has one of the evidence tags on it as well. But they are still continuing to put together the actions that happened here this morning. But again, they do say an officer did shoot a man who had hit another officer with his vehicle. So the investigation continues. Reporting live in Leon Valley, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
5:04, the president's diagnosis shaking up the race for the White House. Former Vice President Joe Biden has again tested negative and is looking forward to debate number 2 with President Trump.
But it's still too early to tell when that will happen. ABC's Alex Perche has the latest.
This morning, President Trump's coronavirus diagnosis dramatically upending the strategy for both campaigns, with less than 30 days until the election. Large in-person rallies with the president have been put on hold for now. But over the weekend, his campaign launched a Trump re-election bus tour, with top surrogates gathering indoors, few wearing masks. A new ABC News Ipsos poll shows that nearly 3 out of every 4 Americans say the president didn't take the risk of getting COVID seriously enough and didn't take the appropriate precautions when it came to his personal health. His campaign pushing back.
We take it very seriously. It's why we give everyone coming to rallies or to events, we give them a mask. We check their temperature.
Joe Biden's campaign has pulled negative ads about the president following the news of his COVID diagnosis and is promising to release the results of every COVID-19 test Biden takes.
The coronavirus has overtaken every corner of American life. It has made it so that we cannot send our kids to school. It's shuttering our small businesses. It's keeping us from being able to see our families and our friends. Americans are worried. They look to Joe Biden. They see leadership.
It's now unclear if the second presidential debate, a town hall format set for October 15th in Miami, will go on as planned. But the candidates' running mates are gearing up for their own debate Wednesday night. Sources tell ABC News Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence will sit 12 feet apart after the Biden campaign requested more space during their debate. Alex Berchet, ABC News, Washington.
Voting is widely considered a necessity upholding a free and fair democracy, but there are still many people who do not participate. That's why here at home, a group of medical students and physicians at University Hospital is working to register voters as part of patient care. The organization Healthy Democracy at UT Health created cards with a text number and QR code so patients can get all the steps to register during their appointments if they want it. Dr. Joshua Hansen says that right now, during a global pandemic, the ability to get the information out could save lives outside of the hospital.
Healthcare providers are trained in the use of PPE. They're trained in safe methodologies. And so by offering to be a group that is interacting with society, we can really relieve some of the more at-risk populations that might otherwise participate in voter registration.
Today is the deadline to register to vote here in the state of Texas. You can find all the information to register on KSAT.com's Vote 2020 page. And later on GMSA, we'll hear from some of the leading students leading the charge in the Healthy Democracy Initiative.
Happening this week on KSAT 12, we will be hosting a debate between the candidates for Texas Congressional District 23. The winner will replace Representative Will Hurd. Democrat Gina Ortiz Jones is running against Republican Tony Gonzalez. The debate is scheduled for this Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. And we want to hear what questions you have for both of the candidates. Just head to KSAT.com and look on the homepage to submit your questions.
The number of new coronavirus cases is declining in 3 states, including here in Texas, as well as Missouri and South Carolina. That's according to data from Johns Hopkins University. But at least 21 other states have a higher number of new COVID cases than they did just a week ago. Researchers at the University of Washington are now predicting as many 2,900 deaths a day in December and projecting 363,000 U.S. deaths by the end of the calendar year.
Remdesivir has been called a life-saving antiviral drug, and it's just one of the medications that President Trump's doctors are using to help him recover from COVID-19. And a local doctor is leading the world's largest remdesivir study right here in San Antonio. Dr. Thomas Patterson with UT Health San Antonio has been leading the local study site for clinical trials at University Hospital. He says hospitalized COVID-19 patients who have been needing oxygen benefit the most from the antiviral drug. According to the president's medical team, President Trump has been given supplemental oxygen twice since becoming ill. Patterson says that means the president meets the criteria where remdesivir could be helpful.
Those would have been parameters that would suggest that, in fact, he would have benefited, and hopefully he will.
Other treatments for the president include a combination of drugs, antibody therapy, and supplements, including zinc, vitamin D, and aspirin. White House physician Sean Conley says the president's health has improved since beginning treatment, and he could be discharged as early as today.
509, 66 degrees.
Well, Twitter is working on a new feature that is meant to be another tool and root out propaganda and misinformation.
And next, Mattel releasing a Susan B. Anthony doll to celebrate her 200th birthday.
Taking a look outside with live cam, 66 degrees at 5:09 this morning. If you're like me, anything below 70, you might need a very light jacket, but Mike says it might warm up. What our week looks like when we come back. In your morning consumer headlines, if you're looking to make a little more money per hour, you may consider moving to Switzerland. Voters and Geneva have agreed to unveil a $25 per hour minimum wage. This is believed to be the highest minimum wage worldwide. Government data reports nearly 60% of voters have supported the move. It was also approved by a group of labor unions who are focused on fighting poverty. According to Geneva's state councilor, the new minimum wage goes into effect November 1st.
Sounds awesome, but it costs a fortune to live in Switzerland, so it kind of evens out in a way. Hey, Mattel releasing a Susan B. Anthony doll as part of its Inspiring Women line. The feminist Barbie officially launches today at the Anthony Museum and says it already has some in the gift shop there. Museum says it worked with Mattel on the doll and that the toy is supposed to celebrate Anthony's 200th birthday. Also marks a century since the 19th Amendment gave women in the U.S. the right to vote. Anthony was one of the nation's best-known abolitionists and suffragists, although she died 14 years before women won voting rights here in the U.S.
I was thinking maybe, when I first saw that this morning, I thought it was an RBG doll.
Against Justice Ginsburg doll.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, the resemblance.
Out of the corner of my eye, I see the resemblance.
Yep, it's a cute doll. All right, it is 5:14 and 66 degrees.
Still ahead on GMSA, why Apple is suing after some of its old iPhones, iPads, and Apple Watches were sold when they were meant to be destroyed and recycled.
Plus, a look at Twitter's latest attempt to weed out misinformation on its platform.
Ever wonder where the capital A in Chick-fil-A came from? It started with grade A, top quality chicken. But we believed everything, not just the food, should be grade A. A is for all the little things we do to bring you our best every day.
The A in Chick-fil-A means a loving, caring team. We're all very supportive of each other. It goes beyond being a team. It's like a family, you know? I definitely can't imagine working anywhere but Chick-fil-A ever, especially right now.
Every customer has their own Safelite story. This couple was on a camping trip when their windshield got a chip. They drove to Safelite for a same-day repair, and with their insurance, it was no cost to them.
Really?
That's service you can trust.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Just between us, cleaning with a mop and bucket is such a hassle. Ugh. Well, I switched to Swiffer WetJet, and it's awesome. It's an all-in-one that absorbs dirt and grime deep inside, and it helps prevent streaks and haze. Stop cleaning and start Swiffering.
In today's Tech Bites, Twitter's new experiment in fighting misinformation. The site is working on a new feature called Birdwatch, which allows users to attach a note to a misleading tweet. Birdwatch is thought to be in early development, and it's not expected to be released before the election. And Apple is suing a former recycling partner in Canada for allegedly not doing its job. Apple claims the recycling company actually resold more than 100,000 iPhones, iPads, and Apple Watches that it was supposed to destroy. The recycling firm denies wrongdoing. Finally, some high-tech help for Harris the otter. He was left alone at a sanctuary in England when his partner died. So keepers set up a fake dating site for him called Fishing for Love. After some publicity, another sanctuary got in touch, and Harris is going to live with a new mate there. Those are your Tech Bites. Have a great day.
It's Matt. So did he flip her right or left? So that would have been to the right?
I don't know how it works. You swipe right.
I think it was right, and then it was a match.
Does anyone know how it works? Obviously none.
Maybe that's a good thing. Almost everybody in here is married. 5:18 right now, 66 degrees.
Marcus, sorry, the swiping right, left thing.
Don't know.
I don't know.
And rightly so.
Just don't swipe.
There you go.
Put the phones down. Put both hands on the wheel. That's the best advice I can give right now. As we take a look at some other areas or some different parts of the city, traffic's still moving along fairly well. Hopefully no one is doing that while they're driving. But let's take a look at a couple of TransGuide cameras right now. This is 37 at Southeast Military Drive. No problems there. And Highway 90 at Medio Creek, east and westbound lanes running smoothly with no problems there. 35 at AT&T Center Parkway.
All I can think about is Dora the Explorer. Swiper, no swipe. That's when you say swipe.
Swiper, no swiping?
Yes.
Oh, for the...
From eons ago when the doors were... Yeah.
Yes. Your sons must have watched Dora.
Swiper was the little
so
fox.
that's what I know about
go stealing
swiping.
Stuff. Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Oh, Swiper, he was the fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I remember now.
You have a picture of him on your desk, Mark.
I do.
Anyway, take a look at this picture. Down there in Cotulla, moon over Cotulla. Yes, it was full on the 1st of October, and then the next full moon, of course, we've been saying the past couple of weeks is going to be on the 31st. Perfect timing for Halloween. That's also going to be the blue moon. Thank you very much for the KSAT Connect picture. Nothing showing up as of right now. Of course, we're going to have another spectacular sunrise this morning, and this is what it looks like upstairs in the atmosphere. We've got some very dry air. This is the driest. It's kind of brownish, tannish shade there, and then maybe a hint of moisture aloft, but otherwise we're going to have plenty of blue skies. And then just on the edge of this vantage point, you can see some of the clouds being pushed well out ahead of Tropical Storm Gamma out there in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So these two systems, there's one in the Caribbean, and what's interesting is all the clouds that are showing up are well to the northeast because the actual center of the storm is right about there, just off the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. 50-mile-per-hour winds, and it is not really going to go anywhere. It'll move down to the southwest just a little bit. A lot of rain, obviously, right there on the tip of the Yucatan, and then just sort of spin around on itself, make a big loop-de-loop, and come back up to the north ever so slightly. But it looks like it may just kind of get sort of torn apart. Obviously, this thing is weakening down into just a tropical depression. Now, down here, as far as tropical depression number 26, that does look like it is going to become Tropical Storm Delta by early tomorrow morning or even late this afternoon and continue into the Gulf of Mexico. Category 1 hurricane and then also Category 2 hurricane. That one, even though it's kind of moving in our direction, is then going to make a right-hand turn and move right up the Mississippi, hit Louisiana, and as well as specifically New Orleans, then go up into the mid-south. Now, as far as we are concerned, I mean, not only is there nothing going on from going to affect us from the tropics, but then you look upstream and there's just nothing out there for the next couple of days. So we're going to have beautiful weather, but unfortunately there's not a drop of rain in the forecast. We haven't had rain around here since, what was it, about the 20th, 21st, something like that, of September. So it's been a few weeks. 78 degrees today at noon, plenty of sunshine. High temperature today up to 85. Yeah, good looking day, a little bit down from where it was yesterday, because yesterday was definitely on the warm side, but then that's going to make a return by the end of the week. We'll slowly start to creep up with temperatures. Not like it's going to be hot and humid, but it will definitely be on the warm side, a good 7-8 degrees above normal by the weekend.
Cool mornings, quite warm afternoons. That's okay.
That's very South Texas fall.
We get that nice little taste of, chilly weather, and then it's like, okay, back to shorts.
That's right. Thanks, Mike. 522, 66 degrees.
Well, up next in your morning spotlight, No Time to Die gets a new release date. Plus, a look at how you can make your very own award-winning film.
The latest adventure for 007, looking at its 004th release date.
CNN's David Daniel has that and more in entertainment news in our Hollywood Minute.
History isn't kind to men who play God.
No Time to Die is turning into No Time to Debut, the 25th James Bond film, reportedly Daniel Craig's last as the iconic British agent, has been pushed back again as many theaters remain closed due to the pandemic. It's now due out April 2nd, 2021. The original release date of November 2019 was delayed once by a change in director and now twice by the coronavirus.
3 different women, 3 different generations. We're loud, we're proud. Let's go.
The Estefans are taking over the red table. Gloria Estefan and her family star in the latest web series built around celebrities having sometimes painfully honest conversations. Red Table Talk, The Estefans premieres Wednesday on Facebook Watch.
Grandma, Grandpa, Grandpa! Hi, Charlie. I got a golden ticket!
No new movies? Make your own. Row House Cinema is going national with its Sweded Festival for Creative Recreations. Record your own weird remake of a favorite film, such as these past winners based on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
The Princess Bride, even Jaws.
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Submit your 5 minutes or under film by November 15th at rowhouse.online. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Those just showed all the absurdities of like all the movies, like Willy Wonka. All the grandparents are in the same bed.
Well, I love that some of them, they try to match the camera angle and the camera shots and the editing almost shot for shot for the film, like they did there in Jaws.
Very creative.
528, still 66 degrees.
Still ahead on GMSA, the U.S. Supreme Court begins its first term without Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg today. We'll have the latest on a potential last-minute battle to find her successor.
Plus, how the pandemic is changing the way major candy companies are selling Halloween candy this year. Good morning. It's Monday, the 5th of October.
I'm sorry, we were just talking about rattlesnakes. Mark found one yesterday.
In my entire time living here in South Texas, I've never come across a rattler. I know it's an everyday occurrence, but had one in the backyard over the weekend, had to kill it.
That's
out there. I'm just feeling lucky because the snake did not bite any of the dogs.
I know, and that's my biggest fear. Mike, I mean, that just goes to show that rattlers aren't just around the summer, they're around.
Oh yeah, any time of year, and watch it, especially, you know, daybreak, dusk, especially, you can't see them.
And I think a lot of the experts have said recently some of the critters are coming out because they're looking for water too.
Right, very possible.
Since we haven't had much at all in the past, few weeks basically, and keep tacking on to that because there's nothing in the forecast. Beautiful start this morning, very pleasant, not as chilly as what it was over the weekend. I mean, it was downright kind of sweatshirt weather early Saturday morning. We're at 66 right now. Normal low temperature is 64, so in the ballpark. Dew points at 56, so that's still pleasant. Anytime that number is below 60, it's okay. And dew points, again, most everywhere as a matter of fact. It's getting close to it around Pleasanton, Helotes with dew points at 59, but humidity should be staying okay, and we've got some fairly dry air upstairs in the atmosphere as well, so it's going to be another beautiful blue sky kind of a day. 78 degrees today at noon, 85 for a high temperature. Yesterday we did hit 90, 30-degree span in temperatures, not quite as much this morning, or today I should say, and 85 obviously is a little bit closer to normal, although that number is going to start to go up ever so slowly, slow and steady as the week progresses, and it looks like we're going to be looking at some more 90s by the end of the week and the weekend. Details in just a couple of minutes. Time saver traffic right now. Officer Marcus Trujillo, anything big out there we should know about?
Actually, things look pretty good right now. You can see that the main lanes of the highways moving along freely with little to no delays. Do have a little bit of construction there. It's on the access road of eastbound Highway 90, right there from Highway 151 from the entrance ramp, continuing on eastbound. But once again, it's on the access road of eastbound Highway 90, not on the main lanes. Mark and Sarah?
We have an update on late-breaking news. Police out in Leon Valley say they shot a man who was using his car as a weapon.
They say he ran over an officer just before he was shot. It happened in the neighborhood just off of Huebner Road.
Our Katrina Weber live on Peachtree Street with that story. We understand both the officer and suspect went to the hospital. What do we know about their conditions?
Well, that's right. From what we know, the officer did have some broken bones in his leg. He was taken to a hospital. Not in any kind of life-threatening injury, but definitely, according to the chief, with a broken leg. The suspect was hit at least a couple of times, also taken to the hospital. The chief says his injuries also non-life-threatening. Here at the scene, you can see these officers going through the car. That's the car that police say the suspect used to back over one of the officers. This happened about 3 o'clock this morning right here on Peachtree Street, just off Huebner. Police say they were trying to make a traffic stop on a driver they suspected of being under the influence. The driver was not cooperating, refused to roll down his window at one point, and then they say that he suddenly opened the door and backed over one officer as they were attempting to arrest him. Another officer with him then fired shots at the suspect, hitting him. This is where his car landed. Looks like it hit a mailbox, and you can see actually bullet holes in that car, in the windshield as well as in the side of the car. They've been processing the scene ever since, collecting evidence, and are trying to piece together again exactly what happened. But they say that at least is the preliminary scenario of what happened here this morning. A driver shot by officers after he ran over one of them. Reporting live in Leon Valley, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
The United States Supreme Court starts a new term today, and some significant cases are pending.
But the big question seems to be what lies ahead following the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. CNN's John Lawrence has more.
A new dawn rising on the U.S. Supreme Court, and it begins with a vacant seat.
I've been a leader on getting conservative judges on the Supreme Court, and the best is yet to come.
Senate Republicans are trying to quickly confirm Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett as successor for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. In an email obtained by CNN, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told his Republican colleagues he needs all of them back on October 19th to ensure a quorum. However, once again, COVID-19 is a factor.
Think about the health risks involved here. Dianne Feinstein, the ranking Democrat, is 87 years old. Chuck Grassley, who was on the Judiciary Committee, is also in his mid-80s.
Several senators, including Republicans Tom Tillis, Ron Johnson, and Mike Lee, have recently tested positive for the virus. Democrats are calling on McConnell to put the process on hold.
Even though he has said it's not safe for the Senate to meet in session, but it's okay to have the hearings.
Although some Republicans say things can move forward,
I've got a job to do and I'm pressing on.
Some analysts say work on the Hill presents risks.
There is COVID swirling through the United States Senate, and they are expecting these senators to sit right next to each other hour after hour, day after day.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
U.S. Attorney General William Barr is going to self-quarantine after all, at least for now. The Department of Justice says he's tested negative for COVID-19 4 times and is likely to return to work later this week. Barr originally declined to self-quarantine. That's even though he came into close contact with former White House counselor Kellyanne Conway last weekend in the Rose Garden. Conway has tested positive for the coronavirus.
A major fire damaged the roof of a structure in East Los Angeles last night. No word on what sort of business took place in the commercial building. At least 24 firefighters responding to this 3-alarm blaze. The cause of the fire is under investigation. There are no reports of any injuries.
5:37, 66 degrees.
Still ahead, a closer look at how candy companies like Hershey are adapting to make sure you still buy all that candy for Halloween.
And next is more NFL players test positive for COVID-19, how the league is adapting and changing schedules to accommodate.
Taking a look outside with live cam, 5:37, 66 degrees. It's a little warmer today than we have been some of these mornings. Mike will let us know what our forecast looks like for the rest of the week when we come back.
Well, coronavirus continues to affect major sports leagues. New infections have caused the NFL to shuffle their schedule for a second time in a week.
And now there's new questions about whether the league is doing enough. Here's ABC's Janae Norman.
COVID-19 infecting the NFL, shuffling week 4 of the league's schedule as more players test positive for the coronavirus.
I think the league needs to look at possibly abbreviating the schedule down to 14 games, but I do believe bubbling in the playoffs is a reality.
Sunday's scheduled New England Patriots game against the Kansas City Chiefs moved to Monday following positive COVID tests on both teams, including quarterback Cam Newton. The Patriots saying in a statement that other players and staff who have been in close contact with Newton received point-of-care tests this morning and all were negative for COVID-19. This just days after the Pittsburgh Steelers game against the Tennessee Titans was rescheduled for October 25th after an outbreak within the Titans organization. The Associated Press reporting at least 20 people testing positive, about half of them players. And New Orleans Saints fullback Michael Burton now cleared after what's believed to have been a false positive test Saturday.
They basically have to coexist with something that has been utterly predictable, which is that COVID would impact the league as the season wore on.
The NFL is doing extensive testing, but now possibly considering bubbling, at least for the playoffs. And that's what we've seen with the NHL and NBA, which are both now wrapping up essentially COVID-free seasons. Janae Norman, ABC News, New York.
5:42, still 66 degrees.
Wildfires burning in the west and an extremely active hurricane season. Up next, we're taking a closer look at how these two weather phenomena have quickly become a political conversation about climate change.
5:46. Of course, it's October 5th. That means Halloween is right around the corner. But the pandemic has changed how candy companies are selling their candy this year.
You may have noticed some of your favorite treats have been out on store shelves a little earlier this year. Max Massey explains why.
Like many things affected by the pandemic in 2020, Halloween and trick-or-treating are going to be a little bit different. As a result, even Hershey's is getting involved, trying to save the holiday tradition from a candy slump. The candy maker says it is changing the kind of candies it's making for Halloween this year. It has already released some of them early, trying to give more time for people to buy. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Halloween season typically drives 1/10 of Hershey's $8 billion in annual sales. The candy maker says it is also working with public health experts and stores, making a website that shows the best ways and the healthiest ways to trick-or-treat safely. One piece of advice from Hershey is to stick to traditional outside trick-or-treating while wearing your masks. Health officials also say doing so is a lower risk compared to participating to indoor gatherings, where people are typically closer together. The Wall Street Journal also reports that other candy makers are preparing for more online sales this year. The company who makes candies like Sour Patch Kids expects sales and demand to be higher this year compared to last. And if you're wondering what candies are expected to be the most popular, dentists say expect to see lots of candy corn, Skittles, M&Ms, Snickers, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and Starburst in your kids' trick-or-treat bucket.
And if you end up with too much candy, a lot of local dentist organizations offer candy buyback programs. It allows you to exchange your treats for things like toothbrushes, and sometimes you might even get some cash. Max Massey, KSAT 12 News.
Right now, it is 5:47. Every week on our digital program, KSAT Explains, we try to bring context and perspective to the stories we bring you throughout the day in our traditional newscasts.
This week, our very own meteorologists Sarah Spivey and Katie Blake are taking the reins to discuss wildfires, hurricanes, and climate change. Here's Myra Arthur with a preview.
Wildfires burning in the west and an extremely active hurricane season. These two weather phenomena have become politically charged. Conversations about both have turned to conversations about climate change.
Is it possible that it's also forest management and climate change? It's both things at the same time.
I think something's possible. I think a lot of things are possible. But when you have years of leaves, dried leaves on the ground, it just sets it up. It's really a fuel for a fire.
The damage from climate change is already here.
So what role has climate change played in the fires and this hurricane season? And what could these weather events look like in the next few decades?
It's every Thursday right here on KSAT and our KSAT TV app.
Yes, and there's actually a whole segment that they already did just on climate change already on KSAT.com.
Look for all previous episodes right there.
And Marcus, it's been a pretty smooth sailing morning out there.
So far, has not been bad at all, Sarah. Let's take a look at the roadways once again through TransGuide. You have that construction. Once again, it's on the access road, so not on the main lanes of eastbound Highway 90, on the access road. 37 at Pecan Valley so far, no problems there. And then 410 at FM 78. Traffic looks pretty good. Let's take a look. 604 at Old Houseman. Starting to see some increases in the traffic there.
Mike, did you specifically ask for blooms and butterflies, or did this one just kind of come in unsolicited?
It's beautiful.
Just came in. I love it. I mean, people love to send in these KSAT Connect pictures, and boy, I don't know what kind of. I wonder if that was a cell phone camera, because the zoom on that is fantastic. But how beautiful! Thank you very much for that. It's a great picture. Loving the yard. Yeah, and one thing though, you look at a lot of lawns and some gardens and everything like that, they're getting a little bit thirsty looking, because it's been at least a couple of weeks since we've had any rain. Now officially out there at the airport, some folks have gotten some, but we haven't had a lot of widespread rain, and there's none in the forecast either. All right, clear skies out there right now. Temperatures are in the mid-50s hill country, mid-60s here in town. Normal low is 64 degrees, so we're close to where we should be. I think we drop down maybe a couple of more degrees in the next few hours, thanks to drier air in the atmosphere. Light wind, clear skies, dry air. Good radiation cooling, but we do have more humidity in the atmosphere than what we had last week when we had those nice chilly mornings around here, and so you can't drop down below this temperature, the dew point temperature. And also with a little extra moisture in the air, it holds the heat in a lot better than dry air does. Then on the flip side, dry air heats a lot more easily than the moist air does. That's why last week we were seeing those 35, 40 degree swings in temperatures. Yesterday, yes, we did have a 30 degree swing from 60 up to 90. Won't be quite as much today. So we've got clear skies out there, nothing showing up on the satellite picture right now. And there's really not a heck of a lot of anything going on around the country. We've got a few of those clouds coming in there up around Canada and then down here to the south in the Gulf of Mexico. But those two systems, Tropical Storm Gamma and Tropical Depression number 26, are not going to have any direct impact on us. They may indirectly help with the temperatures going up because we'll be on kind of the sinking side of that storm. But as of right now, high pressure is still dominating things. Modified kind of northwesterly flow, but that's pretty much changed. And then as the week rolls on, that's going to be then tropical storm and more likely hurricane Delta as that moves in here. It's going to make landfall right around New Orleans again. This is going to be late in the week. And again, we're on the sinking side of that storm, so that's what's going to help to kind of heat things up around here. There is another trough developing out there to the west of us, and models have that thing coming close, but not close enough. By middle part of next week, there's one long-range computer model that has a very small chance for a couple of showers around here, but wouldn't get your hopes up as it's looking right now because, again, this thing's taken kind of the path further up there to the north of us. And as far as temperatures now throughout the rest of the week, we are going to be seeing definitely a warming trend. So yesterday 90, we'll be looking at that in the next couple of days. 78 degrees today at noon, sunny skies, and high temperature today 85, right what you would expect, 30-year average, which is called the normal temperature. That's what we're going to be seeing today. Upper 80s the next few days and then some low 90s. And, you know, we're looking at about, say 7-8 degrees above normal by the weekend. Low temperatures are still going to be not bad, so it's not going to be outrageously humid. Yeah, there'll be a hint of it out there, but it's definitely going to be on the warm side. And unfortunately, like I said, not a drop of rain this week at all.
I did a lot of hand watering yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time, but, you know.
Yeah, at least we're not getting the intense heat, which is just frying all the plants for a while. But still, I mean, you gotta water.
Thank you, Mike. 5:53, 66 degrees. And let's look at some lottery numbers.
All right, pick 3, 1, 4, 1, Fireball 5, Daily 4, 4, 7, 2, 0, Fireball 2.
Cash 5 numbers 1, 7, 8, 14, 34. Lotto Texas 6, 13, 18, 26, 48, 54. And Powerball 18, 31, 36, 43, 47. Powerball of 20, Power Play 2. Good luck.
Coming up here on a Monday edition of Good Morning America, we'll start with President Trump's status as far as the coronavirus and his COVID battle. This morning, we've got the new fallout over the president breaking his isolation for that drive-by outside Walter Reed Hospital to visit his supporters, plus the new details about his treatment as the number of people infected in Trump's inner circle grows. Top infectious disease expert Dr. Jha and Rudy Giuliani both joining us this morning. We hope you will as well.
A reminder that today is the deadline to register to vote for the upcoming 2020 election in November. Early voting runs Tuesday, the 13th of October through Friday, October 30th. The general election, of course, is Tuesday, November 3rd. We have all the information on how to register right now at KSAT.com. It's in the vote section under our news tab. Still to come on GMSA in our next half hour. After more than 40 years of driving and 3 million miles later, a Via bus operator has finally parked in his bus and retired. We'll take a look back at Raul Chapa's incredible career of service that will soon be honored at the Texas Transportation Museum. And outside with TransGuide on your early Monday morning, waiting for that sun to come up, 37 at Hackberry. We'll check back in with Officer Marcus Trujillo. A local doctor running a clinical trial on the drug remdesivir here in San Antonio is saying the president may be the perfect patient to take it in his fight against COVID-19.
Taking a look outside with live cam, 6 a.m., 65 degrees. Mike is dancing. He likes this weather. Giving away your secrets, Mike.
Live from KSAT 12. Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
The question is, should you see Mike dance? Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. It is October 5th.
He was doing that fall all weekend long. I was talking about the fall feeling dance because you're just like, it's so beautiful out here.
It's kind of an autumn jig. Now, it wasn't as crisp this morning as it had been in previous mornings in the last week or so, but...
Actually, I was trying to do the Charleston a little bit. The reason for that is because my wife and I hosted a virtual event Friday night for SA Youth. A lot of folks tuned in, and there was a professional dancer that was trying to teach the Charleston. So I didn't do it. I can't do it. But that's what I was trying to do. There's my story, and I'm sticking to it, folks. Anyway, we, kind of went off on a tangent there, as we usually do. We're not seeing the early signs of the sunrise yet. It's going to take another hour and a half for it to come up. But one thing we're keeping an eye on, and this is, we've got already into the Greek alphabet, so there is tropical storm, Gamma, and then this is tropical depression number 26. Gamma is pretty much going to kind of fizzle out, just sort of spin around the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. But it is 26, which is going to become Delta probably later on this afternoon and work its way up into the Gulf of Mexico. And it's no concern for us, though, because it is going to be working its way off to the east, going to make a right-hand turn. And once again, looks like Louisiana area, New Orleans specifically, is going to be hit by that. More on that coming up. 64 degrees this morning. May drop down another couple of notches from where we are right now. And plenty of sunshine. Then we'll make it into the upper 70s by noon, and later on this afternoon, 85. So we'll be down compared to yesterday. Yesterday we hit 90, which was 5 above normal. This is a normal temperature. Don't get used to that, though, because temperatures are going to start to make its slow incline back upward as the week progresses. More on that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Time saver traffic right now. And all of our wonderful folks we got the patches on this morning,
too. Got the patches on for October. That's right. I wasn't here last week for the beginning of it, but I have them on today. We do have an accident, though, unfortunately, a major accident. So for this one, we're going to go over to the southwest side, Military and Marbach area. And it's going to be on Military Drive, just south of Marbach. That's where we have a major accident currently in the clearing stages. So as soon as we can get that cleared up, we'll get everyone moving once again. Mark and Sarah?
Thank you, Marcus. Leon Valley Police say an officer had no choice but to shoot a man overnight. They say he was reacting to that man running over his fellow officer with his car. Katrina Weber live where the investigation is still going on along Peachtree near Huebner. You mentioned this started with a traffic stop, Katrina.
Well, that's right. Police say they were trying to pull over a driver who they suspected was intoxicated, but that driver had other plans, according to police, and it ended with him in the hospital after being shot by an officer, and an officer also being shot also being hospitalized after being run over by the car. This is where the car ended up right here. This is Peachtree Street, just off Huebner. You can see investigators still going through it. It appears that there are several bullet holes in the windows of that car. The police say just before 3 o'clock, they had tried to make that traffic stop on the driver of this car, but he was not cooperating. They say that at one point he then put the car in reverse and intentionally ran over one of the officers, breaking his leg. A second officer then fired at the driver, hitting him at least a couple of times. The driver and the injured officer both in the hospital. Neither have any sort of life-threatening injuries, but this is an investigation, again, that has been going on for at least the past few hours and will continue for some time until police feel that they have all the information necessary to complete this investigation. Reporting live in Leon Valley, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Katrina. Well, local health officials are reporting 113 new cases of COVID-19 in Bexar County and no new deaths. That moves the 7-day rolling average to 150 cases per day. In the daily briefing last night, Metro Health said 381 backlog cases were added to the overall total in Bexar County. 24 backlog deaths were also added, and they reported them from July 12th to September 17th.
A local doctor leading the world's largest remdesivir study right here in San Antonio. Dr. Thomas Patterson with UT Health San Antonio as leading the local study site for clinical trials at University Hospital. He says hospitalized COVID-19 patients who have needed oxygen benefit the most from the antiviral drug. According to President Donald Trump's medical team, the president has been given supplemental oxygen twice since contracting the virus. Dr. Patterson says that means the president meets the criteria where remdesivir could be helpful.
Those would have been parameters that would suggest that, in fact, he would have benefited, and hopefully he will.
Other treatments for the president include a combination of drugs, antibody treatment, and supplements, including zinc, vitamin D, and even aspirin. We will learn more about the president's condition this morning, coming up in the next half hour of GMSA.
Meanwhile, the president's diagnosis is shaking up the race for the White House.
Indeed, former Vice President Joe Biden has again tested negative and says he's looking forward to debate number 2 with the president, but it's still too early to tell if and when that will happen.
ABC's Alex Perche has the latest.
This morning, President Trump's coronavirus diagnosis dramatically upending the strategy for both campaigns, with less than 30 days until the election. Large in-person rallies with the president have been put on hold for now. But over the weekend, his campaign launched a Trump re-election bus tour, with top surrogates gathering indoors, few wearing masks. A new ABC News Ipsos poll shows that nearly 3 out of every 4 Americans say the president didn't take the risk of getting COVID seriously enough and didn't take the appropriate precautions when it came to his personal health. His campaign pushing back.
We take it very seriously. It's why we give everyone coming to rallies or to events, we give them a mask. We check their temperature.
Joe Biden's campaign has pulled negative ads about the president following the news of his COVID diagnosis and is promising to release the results of every COVID-19 test Biden takes.
The coronavirus has overtaken every corner of American life. It has made it so that we cannot send our kids to school. It's shuttering our small businesses. It's keeping us from being able to see our families and our friends. Americans are worried. They look to Joe Biden. They see leadership.
It's now unclear if the second presidential debate, a town hall format set for October 15th in Miami, will go on as planned. But the candidates' running mates are gearing up for their own debate Wednesday night. Sources tell ABC News Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence will sit 12 feet apart after the Biden campaign requested more space during their debate. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
Happening this week right here on KSAT 12, we're hosting a debate between candidates for Texas Congressional District 23. The winner will replace current Congressman Will Hurd. Democrat Gina Ortiz-Jones running against Republican Tony Gonzalez. The debate is scheduled for Thursday at 7 o'clock in the evening, and we want to hear the questions you have for both candidates. Just head to KSAT.com to submit your questions.
In your morning headlines, the California wildfires have burned more than 4 million acres. California's state fire agency says blazes like these have burned well over 4 million acres so far this year. That is a new record and is about the same size as the entire state of New Jersey. The previous record was set 2 years ago when the wildfires in California burned under 2 million acres. CAL FIRE says 16,000 firefighters are battling 23 wildfires, and there are 2 months left in the fire season. They say 31 people have died so far and 100,000 people have had to evacuate.
The largest humanities philanthropy in the U.S. is spending more than $250 million to change how history is expressed in public spaces. The Andrew W. Mellon Foundation says it will help fund projects around the nation in an effort to reflect the nation's diversity and highlight marginalized stories. The Monuments Project will support the creation of new statues, memorials, and public spaces and add context to existing ones.
Well, voters in Geneva, Switzerland have made the minimum wage $25 an hour. It is believed to be the highest minimum wage in the world. Government data reports nearly 60% of voters supported the wage increase. It was also approved by a group of labor unions in the country. According to Geneva State Councilor Mario Puglia, the new minimum wage goes into effect November 1st.
Of course, it's a pricey country to live in. $25 an hour minimum wage sounds like a lot.
But if
you're paying
the
high
real
prices
estate
for milk and bread and everything else,
you know, Oh my gosh.
609, 65 degrees.
A local man is sharing his love of remote control planes, hoping to get others interested in this hobby. You definitely want to hear this story. We'll hear more about his passion later on GMSA.
And a group of students and doctors working to change the stigma in healthcare by registering voters at University Hospital. After the break, we'll learn more about the people behind the Healthy Democracy campaign.
Let's take a look outside with live cam. It's 65 degrees. It's dropped a couple of degrees so far this morning at 6:10 a.m. What will our week look like? Will we get any rain? Will it heat up? Will it stay cool? I don't know, but Mike has the answers when we come back.
6:14 on your Monday morning. Welcome back to GMSA. Participating in elections is considered a necessity for a healthy democracy.
Which is why a group of students and physicians named their organization Healthy Democracy to register voters in the healthcare industry. Students at UT Health pushed to increase voter participation in an industry they say is notorious for not participating in elections. Members became voluntary deputy registrars in Bexar County and brought the resources to doctors and nurses at University Hospital who may have otherwise not had the time to register, especially while working relentlessly during the pandemic.
Students also partnered with physicians to get registration information to their patients. A third-year medical student says voter registration is right on par with other questions doctors ask during routine medical visits.
When you're asking about, where do you work? Do you have health insurance? Do you smoke? Do you use alcohol? Things like that. You just ask, do you have a way to vote? Are you planning to vote? Do you have a safe plan for going to the polls?
Well, even though today is the deadline to register to vote, the Healthy Democracy members plan to keep helping during election season. Some of their other initiatives include registering as poll workers, getting a polling location at University Hospital and the medical school, and helping those they registered get to the polls.
But a lot of it will just be focusing on making sure people know that now that they're registered, here's how they can actually vote, because the pandemic is still going on. So we want to make sure that everyone's safe, that no one gets COVID from going to vote, and that everyone has a safe way to do that.
And as we said, today is the deadline to register to vote here in Bexar County. You can find the resources you need to register, as well as learn more about the Healthy Democracy campaign right now on KSAT.com under the Vote 2020 page. And remember, early voting begins Tuesday the 13th and will run through October 30th. Election Day is right around the corner, November 3rd.
All right, it's 6:16 and 65 degrees. Marcus, you had an accident out there.
We do. It's still in place there. Fortunately, it's not up on the highways. This one is at Military and Marbach. So if you're northbound on Military Drive from Highway 90, right before you get to Marbach, that's where you'll encounter that major accident. So hopefully we'll get that cleared up here shortly. Let's take a look outside through TransGuide. 35 at Cesar Chavez. You can see both the north and the southbound lanes of 35. Start to pick up in volume, get a little bit of an early start on this Monday morning, so you don't want to delay too long before you head out the door.
Michael, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, very pleasant when you step outside. Pretty much a continuation of what we had over the weekend, except not as cool. It was kind of sweatshirt weather, especially Saturday morning sitting outside. Right now, we are in the mid-60s. I think we dropped down another couple of notches this morning. Mostly clear skies out there. And then nice warm up throughout the day, about 20 degrees. So that's the difference between yesterday and today. We've got a little bit more humidity out there. Not a lot, not to where you'd really notice it that much, but just enough to where we're not seeing the big span in temperatures, 20 degrees as opposed to 30 degrees yesterday. Oh, this is what's so nice about fall, when you see pictures like this. Yep, the colors of the season up there in Helotes. Thank you very much for the KSAT Connect pictures, and keep them coming in. Make sure you hold your camera sideways if you don't mind too, please. All right, nothing as far as the sunrise yet, but it's going to be another pretty one. 65 in town, 55 Comfort, 63 in Hondo. And like I said, we've dropped down another degree, maybe another degree or two, but when it's all said and done, we're going to be right about the normal low temperature, which is 64 degrees when it's all, once the sun starts to come up and we cool down in the next couple of hours. Dew point temperatures remain in the mid 50s. They are definitely up compared to last week when we had those really chilly temperatures. These numbers were down in the 30s and even 20s. So it's still not humid when you step outside, but it's not as crisp out there. And so this does not allow temperatures to drop down really below what the normal is right now. Now, we do have a couple of systems out there in the tropics. Of course, this is Tropical Storm Gamma, which what's interesting is you see all the higher clouds out here, but the storm is actually located right down there near the tip of the Yucatan, and then further down in the Caribbean is Tropical Depression number 26. That's the one to really watch out for. First of all, as far as Gamma is concerned, it's pretty much just going to be sort of sitting right there just off the coast of the Yucatan. It's going to be a tropical storm, then weaken down to tropical depression strength and just kind of spin around, if you will, and do a loop-de-loop. Best way to describe it. Then you have what looks like it's going to become Tropical Storm Delta by probably later on today. That will work its way through the Caribbean right off the tip of Cuba into the Gulf of Mexico, become a Category 2 storm, and make a right-hand turn and head right in toward New Orleans. So once again, that portion of the Gulf Coast is going to be hit by tropical storm, and we are not going to see really any effects from that. It'll help to heat us up basically toward the end of the week because we're going to be on the sinking side of it. So that'll put temperatures back up to where it was yesterday, back up into the 90 and even low 90s by the end of the week and the weekend. 78 degrees today at noon, sunny skies, good looking day. Humidity is going to be okay, so nice and pleasant, especially if you're in the shade. 85 for high temperature. That's a normal high. And then the slow increase in temperatures start up, and we probably have some morning clouds then the next few days. 87 tomorrow, up to 90 by Thursday, low 90s Saturday, Sunday. So compared to normal, those high temperatures are going to be 7-8 degrees above normal by the weekend.
Can't really complain, but
No.
When can we get true fall-like temperatures?
That's always the $64,000 question here in town. But long range, there's no big fronts like what we had last week. Nothing showing up as of right now.
So you looked in your crystal ball that is Canada, and nothing's headed our way just yet.
Not yet.
Okay, not again. All right, we'll wait. Thank you, Mike. 620, 65 degrees.
Well, dancer Cheryl Burke, a mainstay on Dancing with the Stars, is opening up about her struggles with alcoholism and why she got sober. Find out more in today's GMA First Look.
Yeah, we have a special shout out today to Rooney. That's Stephanie Cerna's daughter.
Happy birthday, Rooney.
Yeah, from all of us here at GMSA, we hope you have a happy birthday if you're up.
Here's your secret word of the day. Enter it on KSAT.com/Circle K for a monthly chance to win free gas for a year. Every entry wins a medium coffee. Win with Circle K and GMSA.
These are real people, not actors, who've got their eczema under control. With less eczema, you can show more skin. So roll up those sleeves and help heal your skin from within with Dupixent. Dupixent is the first treatment of its kind that continuously treats moderate to severe eczema or atopic dermatitis, even between flare-ups. Dupixent is a biologic and not a cream or steroid. Many people taking Dupixent saw clear or almost clear skin and had significantly less itch. Don't use if you're allergic to Dupixent. Serious allergic reactions can occur, including anaphylaxis, which is severe. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems, such as eye pain or vision changes, or a parasitic infection. If you take asthma medicines, don't change or stop them without talking to your doctor. So help heal your skin from within and talk to your eczema specialist about Dupixent. If your financial situation has changed, we may be able to help.
In this morning's GMA First Look, she's been a fan favorite on Dancing with the Stars for 23 seasons. But this morning, Cheryl Burke is opening up about her once secret struggle.
Would you say that you were alcoholic? Were you an addict?
I am an addict. I have those tendencies. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I was a party girl. And then I just took it to the next level and it became an issue. And it became an everyday thing for me.
Coming up on Good Morning America, we'll hear how the dance pro made the decision to live a sober life, what she's learned from her own family's battle with addiction, and how her partner this season, Backstreet Boy AJ McLean,
I kissed her and she kissed me.
Is inspiring her with every dance. With your GMA First Look, I'm Adrienne Bankert, ABC News.
Well, in your tech news, Twitter is working on a new feature to fight misinformation called Birdwatch. The feature allows users to attach a note to a misleading tweet. Birdwatch is thought to be in early development, and it's not expected to be released before the election.
Apple suing a former recycling partner in Canada for allegedly not doing its job. The company claims the recycling partner actually resold more than 100,000 iPhones, iPads, and Apple Watches it was supposed to destroy. The recycling firm denies any wrongdoing.
And some high-tech help for Harris the otter. He was left alone at a sanctuary in England when his partner died. So keepers set up a fake dating site for him called, quote, Fishing for Love. And after some publicity, another sanctuary got in touch, and now Harris is going to live with his new mate there.
Well, local plane hobbyist shares his joy of taking to the skies with his collected, built from scratch, remote control aircraft. 56-year-old Bernard Williams started the hobby when he was in his 20s. In the 80s, he bought his first remote control plane, which he crashed, but it didn't stop him from investing in the craft. Plane after plane, Williams perfected his skills at flying, and now, from the front of his home, entertains passers-by in his neighborhood with gadgets soaring through the air.
You get a brick and put some wings on it, throw a motor on it. I can fly that brick. I mean, I don't know how far it's going to fly, but I guarantee I can get it off the ground and I can fly that brick.
Williams, who lives in Converse, says he hopes his joy of flying remote control planes encourages others to join the hobby as well. You can learn more about his story by searching for What's Up South Texas on KSAT.com.
Really recommend watching that story. It's
looks like
really
a lot
cool.
of fun. Mm-hmm.
All right, 627 and 65 degrees.
We're continuing to learn more about the incident that led Leon Valley Police to shoot a driver that ran over an officer with his vehicle. Katrina Weber on the scene will provide an update coming up at the bottom of the hour.
A Leon Valley police officer and a driver meet up here in the worst way. Now the driver's in the hospital with gunshot wounds, the officer with a broken leg. I'm Katrina Weber, I'll tell you more about it.
New fallout this morning after President Trump left the hospital to drive by and visit with his supporters. I'm Alex Bechet in Washington. I'll have details coming up.
And the last couple mornings, if you had to grab a light jacket or sweatshirt in the early morning hours before the sun rose, may not necessarily be the case as we start out the work week. Good morning to you. It is Monday. It is October 5th.
Thank you so much for waking up with us on this Monday morning. And 65 degrees, you know, I like it. I like it when it's a little warmer outside.
You don't like the cold?
No. I'm cold right now in studio. Matter of fact, I'm always cold.
Well, that's because it's 60 degrees in here.
Yeah, true. But, you know, subtract about 10 degrees when you get out in toward the hill country. So, yeah, a jacket's a pretty good idea out in to the west and to the northwest. So 65 in New Braunfels, 61 Seguin, and Pleasanton is at 63 degrees. Over the weekend, yesterday, as a matter of fact, we had dropped down to 60 here in town and even upper 50s on Saturday morning. Yes, that was the jacket weather. And clear, pleasant this morning. Not seeing the early glow of the sunrise yet, but in probably about another 15 minutes. I think by the next weather segment, we should start to see that little orangish glow. Sunny, mid-80s later on today. Yesterday, we hit 90, so we'll be down just a little bit today. But throughout the rest of the week, we are slowly going to be warming up. So we're going to be looking at some 90s again and even up into the low 90s once we get in toward the weekend. Humidity is going to be okay. Details on that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Time saver traffic right now. And Officer Marcus Trujillo, I know you've been over at the computer. What's going on?
Well, here in the downtown area, we have a little bit of a delay there, a little bit of a hazard. So we're going to zoom into northbound main lanes of 35, just north of Highway 90 there through TransGuide. You can see 35 at Alamo showing you that Cesar Chavez exit right now. We do have that stalled vehicle. Earlier, it was completely blocking the exit lane, but it is moved off to the side now in that breakdown lane. Just use caution if you're headed in that area. Mark and Sarah?
Thank you, Marcus. Well, Leon Valley police officer and a man accused of running over him with his car both are in the hospital this morning. Police say an officer shot that driver after he intentionally hit the other one. Our Katrina Weber is live where it happened on Peachtree Street. That's near Huebner Road. Earlier, Katrina, you mentioned bullet holes in the suspect's car. Was he still in the car when he was shot?
Yeah, according to the Leon Valley's police chief, that man was still behind the wheel, but with his door open. He says that the officers were trying to arrest him at the time, but it seems that man had other plans. Well, it ended with that Leon Valley police officer suffering a broken leg and the driver being shot at least a couple of times, according to the chief. Both of them were taken to a hospital, but neither suffered any life-threatening injuries. Police say the officer had made a traffic stop on the man who he suspected was driving while intoxicated. He pulled the driver over just before 3 this morning, and soon after that, things took a violent turn.
They tried to talk to him for quite a bit through the window. It wouldn't roll his window down, and then eventually did. And then as they're talking to him, decided to try to arrest him. The door came open, and he intentionally reversed it and ran over the officer.
The chief says a second officer is the one who fired the shots at the driver. Now, you can see some of the bullet holes in the windows of his car. It looks like it came to a stop after hitting that mailbox, but we can also see some damage on the backside of the car, which is where, again, the chief says that he hit that officer, actually ran over him, causing him to break his leg several times. Again, no life-threatening injuries, neither for the officer nor the suspect who was shot. Reporting live in Leon Valley, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Well, this morning there's growing concern over President Trump's impromptu visit with supporters. He was in a vehicle outside the hospital where he is currently being treated for COVID-19.
Now even the Walter Reed attending physician is speaking out as many are calling for transparency on the president's health. ABC's Alex Perche has more.
Good morning. There's frustration that once again the president is ignoring CDC guidelines on COVID-19. But this time he actually has the virus and might be putting people at unnecessary risk. Overnight, growing outrage over this. President Trump breaking his quarantine at Walter Reed Sunday to do a drive-by for his supporters.
Mr. President!
He's there in the back seat waving and wearing a mask. The others in the SUV exposed. As health experts say, the president is likely still contagious. The White House insisting in a statement that appropriate precautions were taken, including PPE, and that the movement was cleared by the medical team as safe to do. But Dr. James Phillips, a Walter Reed attending physician, blasted the stunt, tweeting, "Every single person in the vehicle during that completely unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days. They might get sick. They may die for political theater. This is insanity." The president now saying this about the virus.
And I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it.
This latest incident follows a series of mixed messages and false statements about his health. On Saturday, White House Dr. Sean Conley repeatedly dodged questions about whether the president needed oxygen.
Yesterday and today, he was not on oxygen.
So he has not been on it during his COVID treatment?
He's not on oxygen right now.
Now, Conley says he did administer oxygen to the president twice, including on Friday at the White House after his blood oxygen dropped. Sources telling ABC the president had difficulty breathing. Meanwhile, Joe Biden tested negative for the virus on Sunday. His campaign now promising to release the results of every test that he takes. And his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is gearing up to face Vice President Mike Pence in a debate on Wednesday. Sources telling ABC News that they'll sit 12 feet apart after the Biden campaign requested more space. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
Your other morning headlines, the Supreme Court of the United States will start a new term today. 8 justices will go back to work after the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Some of the cases in the court expected to rule on this term include abortion rights, expanded gun rights, and the power of government. Judge Amy Coney Barrett could join them on the bench if her nomination is confirmed by the U.S. Senate.
Well, 2 American scientists and a British scientist have been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, or the Nobel Prize in medicine for the discovery of hepatitis C vaccine. It was announced this morning in Stockholm, Sweden. The group helped to pioneer ways to prevent the spread of the virus, which caused around 400,000 deaths a year worldwide. And next week, the winners of the prizes in physics, chemistry, literature, peace, and economics will be announced.
Right now, it's exactly 6:38, 65 degrees.
A man who spent 41 years behind the wheel of a Via bus is putting it in park for good. After the break, we'll see how Via is honoring Raul Chapa.
KSAT 12 presents another Day of the Dead story.
Day of the Dead dates back to pre-Columbian, pre-Hispanic, indigenous traditions in Mexico. The Aztecs, as they conquered people, incorporated their traditions into the Aztec pantheon. So we know that these are borrowings from Mesoamerican peoples. So one of the questions is why these dates? October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd. It is because that the ancient calendar, the ancient sacred calendar, these are what are known as cross-quarter days. They fall exactly between fall equinox and winter solstice. So this is exactly the midpoint. And it is understood by ancient peoples that this is the moment when the veil that separates the world of the living and the world of the dead is at its thinnest. What's interesting, of course, is that it's not unique only to Mexico, this moment of linking back to ancestors. So it happens that in Japan and Shinto traditions it's Obon, in Celtic traditions it's Samain. As the sun is losing the battle and the night is gaining, it's universally felt that this is the resurgence of the domain of the dead and our ancestors.
It's been a long journey for Raul Chapa as he's saying goodbye to a career at Via that at first he didn't even want.
It turned out to be a job that I was kind of uncomfortable because I was a truck driver by myself and now I had to be face to face with the public, which I was very uncomfortable with.
About a year of working the night shift, things changed for Chapa in an unlikely way.
There was one particular child, 12-year-old child, late at night, 11:30-ish at night, pulled a knife on me. And we became friends. And that's when I realized that I was here for a purpose because I could relate to him because of my upbringing as a child. And from that point on, I realized that it was much more than a job.
Since then, Chapa has met and talked to all kinds of people who have taken a ride on his bus.
From every walk of life, from homelessness to attorneys and judges and very famous big screen people I got to meet. I was involved in evacuation of rescuees that came from Katrina. I was able to work transporting nuns to the Pope when he post Mass when the Pope was in town.
After a friend that also worked at Via died of COVID-19, Chapa decided that this year would be his last. But he left with an award in September for driving accident-free and incident-free while completing 3 million miles.
God was my co-pilot. It was simple as that. The next thing, I worked for a company that is outstanding. I love the company.
His remarkable career will now be honored at the Texas Transportation Museum.
It became a super interesting career to the point I loved what I was doing until the day I retired.
Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
Dallas Cowboys not off to a good start in the 2020 season. The Cowboys tried bouncing back against the Cleveland Browns yesterday, but offensive turnovers continue to plague the team. A fumble by Dak Prescott recovered by the Browns. 4 plays later, Cleveland turns this one into a touchdown. Browns would lead 27 in the fourth. Cowboys attempt to make a comeback, scoring 24 points in the final quarter. Too little, too late. An extra touchdown by the Browns and a pick thrown by Prescott ends the game. Cowboys lose 49-38 to the upstart Cleveland Browns. Cowboys try to turn the season around this weekend against a division rival. They play the Giants on Sunday in Arlington. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans have lost the first 4 games of the season for the first time in franchise history. Texans playing the Vikings yesterday with each team looking for that first win. Houston didn't find the end zone until the third quarter, but fought to make it an 8-point game. End of the game, Houston in the red zone, needing a touchdown. A 2-point conversion to tie it up. Deshaun Watson finds Will Fuller on 4th down. Looks like he crossed the goal line, but after review, Officials called an incomplete pass, and the Texans lose to the Vikings 31-23. Texans still desperately searching for a win, and we'll get a chance this upcoming weekend. Houston will host the Jacksonville Jaguars at noon on Sunday.
Sad day for Texas football fans.
It was.
All right, 646. Marcus, how's it looking out there?
Well, we just have that one stalled vehicle on the exit ramp going from northbound 35, exiting for Cesar Chavez. You see this there off to the shoulder. On the breakdown lane rather, so not too bad. Let's look at some other areas like 37 and Military. You can see traffic starting to pick up on those northbound main lanes, and then 410 and Starcrest, definitely busier in both directions. Moving over here to 21 at Winding Way, you can see north and southbound lanes still have enough room. Just make sure you buckle up as you head out today. Mike?
Here's a they're all fantastic pictures, but wow, look at that one. The Lydia Ann Lighthouse down there, known as the Aransas Pass Lighthouse. Only one of two, I didn't realize that. This is the only one of two working lighthouses on the Texas coast.
How about that?
I did not know that.
And I was fishing off Aransas Pass late last week. Good fishing.
Where's the pictures? Send it to us
Where's the fish?
Picture didn't happen?
Yeah, I was like, come on, share with your friends. All right, we're not seeing the glow, maybe the early glow of the sunrise, but it's going to be another pretty one. Hey, it is dry out there, and it's been a long time since we have had rain. Last measurable rain out there at the airport was back on the 22nd, so basically 2 weeks ago. We picked up that, and the day before picked up 0.6 of an inch of rain approximately, but haven't had anything since then, and there is nothing, unfortunately, in the forecast coming up here anytime soon. Forecast high today, 85 degrees, down from yesterday. Yesterday was on the warm side after starting off kind of on the coolish side. So now both the low and the high are kind of moving a little closer to each other. Dew points are still pleasant, although much higher than what it was last week. We're up in the mid 50s right now, and we'll stay right around mid 60s, maybe even low 60s by later on today. Not outrageously humid by any stretch, although the humidity does look like it may come up a little bit. Then tomorrow, dip back down and stay okay going into the end of the week and the weekend. That's also, though, when temperatures are going to be warming up, so we'll be up into the low 90s by the weekend around here. Nothing is showing up as far as any clouds, maybe one or two of them out there. We'll probably have a lot more in the way of some clouds tomorrow morning with some extra moisture kind of coming on in here. And there's nothing really going on around the country as far as we are concerned. The high is still dominating things. That was what helped to bring in the cooler air last week. And now all of that is kind of back up there into Canada. The low down here, first of all, Tropical Storm Gamma is going to sort of fall apart. This is going to be then what looks like Hurricane Delta. That, though, is going to stay well off to the east of us. There's another trough trying to develop out there and move on in, but notice how the low takes a path then further up to the north of us. So maybe a couple of showers by middle of next week. Not a good chance, though. 78 degrees today at noon, sunny skies. High temperature today up to 85. Nice day. Humidity is going to be okay. You know, kind of if you're doing chores outside, you may definitely feel a little bit more. 87 then tomorrow. We'll get up into the low 90s by the weekend. So we're looking at 6, 7, 8 degrees above normal by this weekend.
I'm still struggling with some allergen right now, Mike Osterhage. Got a tickle in my throat.
Is ragweed.
Yep.
It's on the heavier side. So.
Yeah, and I take something, but it always seems to get me anyway.
I know. I feel like a lot of people are struggling with that this morning.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. Right now, time check, 6:50, 65 degrees.
Well, it can be a small pleasure in the morning and a lifeline after a bad night's sleep. But when you drink your morning cup of coffee, could it affect how your body fights diabetes? Tomorrow on GMSA, we'll tell you a better time to drink that morning cup of joe.
Outside with live cam. Yep, the very beginning of your Monday morning sunrise. The news you need to know before you go is around the corner. We'll be back.
Coming up here on a Monday edition of Good Morning America, we'll start with President Trump's status as far as the coronavirus and his COVID battle. This morning, we've got the new fallout over the president breaking his isolation for that drive-by outside Walter Reed Hospital to visit his supporters, plus the new details about his treatment as the number of people infected in Trump's inner circle grows. Top infectious disease expert Dr. Jha and Rudy Giuliani both joining us this morning. We hope you will as well.
Leon Valley police shoot a man who they say allegedly used his car as a weapon. Good morning, I'm Katrina Weber. All of that happening here on Peachtree Street, just off Hebner Road. This is the suspect's car here. This is where it ended up. The police say it also ended with the officer and the suspect both in the hospital. The officer broke his leg in several places, according to the chief. The suspect then was shot by a second officer, hit at least twice. Both of them are in the hospital, non-life-threatening injuries. This goes back to about 3 o'clock this morning. According to the Leon Valley chief, the officers had pulled over the car suspecting that the driver might be intoxicated. He refused to cooperate, and then, according to the chief, intentionally ran over one officer, backed right over him. The second officer then fired at him, hitting him at least twice. And again, both men now in the hospital. This investigation continuing some 3 hours after this happened. Reporting from Leon Valley, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
5 till, which means it's time to check back in with Marcus.
That's right, Mark. As we take a look at the roadways, traffic continuing to flow freely there. 21 at Winding Way with no problems there. Highway 90 at 36th Street. You see that they've cleared up those construction vehicles that they had on the access road. Moving over to 410 FM 78, no problems there. And then I-10 in Braunfels, so far, things look pretty good. Mike?
Thank you, sir. You know, we were talking earlier about some people having the sneezes and sniffles, and yeah, ragweed is on the moderate side right now, so that may be causing it for a lot of folks. 65 degrees, 55 up there in Comfort, so light jacket's not a bad idea, but you won't need it by later on today. And look at that, we're starting to see the glow of the early morning sunrise, maybe a couple of clouds well off to the east of us. We'll have a high temperature today up into the mid-80s.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mike. Marcus, we appreciate you, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here at GMSA at 9.
Have a great day, everybody. Good Morning America is next.